Here we go. Welcome back to the Game Stars Podcast. As always, I'm your host, William Liberty, and with me is...
Full-Eyes Muhammad Yusuf.
And today we got some stuff. We got Fighting EX layer news. We got Rainbow Six Siege, new content, 3 new operators. We got Valkyria Chronicles 4 announced. We got MVC Infinite DLC characters. And we got the Loot Box Saga continues. Before we get into that, let's talk about what we played this week. So I finally beat Link to the Past.
Oh.
Finally got to Ganon. It was kind of hilarious in the sense where it's like Ganon's... I gotta tell a story. So I get to Ganon's tower and I fucked up. I fucked up real hard at a particular chest.
Okay.
And this is what happened. I fell into a room. I think I told the story on the last podcast, but there's a part 2 to this. So remember how I talked about how I fell down this platform to go fight a boss, and instead of going north, right? So there's part 2 of that story. So I saved, and then I went to bed, and then I came back, and then I essentially teleported to the entrance because I had no potions. So I needed to get to the top of the tower again, but with 3 potions so that I could fight the boss, right? With, the ability to heal myself, right? And I'm going through it over and over and over again, and I'm like, man, this is a lot harder than I thought. Like, why is this so difficult? And then I realize, I stare and I put my hands over my face that this save that I loaded actually doesn't has it so that I didn't unlock that chest that gives me the tunic that gives me better defense. And I just assumed that I had it, and I was walking around the entire level trying to do it perfect with mid-optimal gear. And I just went, God damn it. So I reloaded the save, got the tunic this time, and then I was able to do it. The boss was really interesting, although the one thing that's a little bit annoying in the sense where it's like, this game, more than anything, I thought that there was a lot of optional ways to fight bosses, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that there were optional items, right? There's the items that you get in the dungeons, and then there's items that you can just find around the world, right?
Okay.
So that's really not the case. There is, I think, only one item in this game that's actually optional. You literally need every other item in the game to beat it. Like, there's a boss that is... Like, I found this item really early on, completely by accident. It was the ice rod, right?
Yeah.
And it's completely optional. It's on the far side of the map, and you can pick it up, and it slows enemies down when you shoot it. Now...
Okay.
You get to the second last boss. Well, actually, it's the third last boss, and you actually need the fire rod that you get from a dungeon and the ice rod to beat it. So if you get to that boss and you don't have the ice rod, you're screwed. Like, you literally have to die and leave the dungeon and go find the ice rod. So it's a little bit weird in the sense that there's a lot of items in this game that the game doesn't really tell you that you're going to need, and you just have to kind of find... Like, the fact that, you can't beat Ganon unless you have silver arrows. And the only way to get silver arrows is to find this particular fairy in this particular spot and throw your bow into the fountain. And she throws it back with the upgrade. And, there's a couple of things like that I can certainly find a little bit frustrating. But, honestly, I had a lot of fun. Oh, okay. Thank you, PC. I get it. I should update. The other thing that I found really interesting is that this is actually similar to Breath of the Wild, I guess, but the story is really sparse. And it's something that it's a little weird. As somebody who's played, Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask, Twilight Princess, Wind Waker, the story is a big part of the game, right? It's a big, important part. And I feel in games like Breath of the Wild or Link to the Past, the story's there, absolutely, but it's not really the focus, I guess. The focus is more just discovery, and finding things and finding characters and discovering the world of Hyrule. And it's weird. It's weird to kind of go from one style of storytelling to a completely different style when you're so used to the series doing it this way.
Mm.
But it was still really fun, really really good game. And now I'm just kind of debating what I want to play next, so that's fun. The other thing I played was I went back to Rainbow Six Siege, which we'll be talking a little bit about later. So that was really fun because I jumped on with a bunch of friends and we had this moment where it's like, are we really good or are we just playing against some really bad teams? Because we went on like a 10-match win streak and it was crazy.
Damn.
Yeah, like I was granted, I was getting carried the shit by my good friend of the podcast, Lobster Monk.
Yeah, well, no surprises there.
Yeah, no surprises there. And he was just kicking ass, and I was just like, "Dude, you're kicking ass!" And it's like, are you playing this game regularly? And he's like, "No, not really." I'm just like,
okay. I'm just stupid builds.
But it was a lot of fun. The game overall runs a lot smoother than it used to, and it has a bunch of new UI changes that I think makes the game overall better. But like, it also added, because every game has to have it now, guess what's in the game?
Microtransactions?
Nope. Better. Loot boxes. But they're loot packs. And it's hilarious because they look like those stupid like energy packs that you like tear open and you put in your drink. And the weird thing about how these loot packs work is that it's not like you have an experience rate and you unlock, kind of like an Overwatch, right? Where it's something like that. How it works is that every time you finish a match, there's a percentage chance of unlocking a loot pack. So it starts out as 5%. And then every match that you complete, it goes up by, I think, another 2%. Or like 3 or 4 or whatever. So basically, you just continue playing matches until finally the dial like lands on like the unlock. And it's basically like, you keep playing, it goes up from a 10% chance of getting a loot pack to a 15% to a 20% to a 25% until you finally get the damn thing.
And then you have like, and then there's RNG when it comes to opening the loot box itself.
Surprisingly, no. You like all that I've unlocked with the loot boxes is skins. It's just skins from what my friend told me, but it just felt kind of weird and pointless. So, we'll be talking more about that later as well. But that's basically what I played this week. What about you, Fawaz?
Okay, so I mostly just played a little bit more Moira and a little bit more Anna. Nice. They're both really fun. I'm actually really enjoying Moira. Her workflow. Her workflow is pretty cool. You gotta like maintain your resources, but you gotta remember that you're a healer first. So you don't want to get too carried away trying to do damage. And then like her teleport is really cool. It's just nice to play support with that kind of mobility. Also, because she goes completely invulnerable, right? It's really nice when you dodge like self-destructs and earth shatters using the thing. I know one person made a really, really interesting realization. So she can escape from a graviton using her teleport, right?
Right.
And people were like, that's not fair. Graviton shut down all movement abilities. And the dude was like, true. It shuts down all movement abilities except Wraith Walk. And in the lore, Moira and Reaper use the same technology for their Wraith Walk and their teleport. I don't know if this was intended, but I thought it was hilarious.
That's pretty cool.
Because I was like, hey, I guess it's still consistent, just in a very different way. But yeah, she's pretty fun. Anna's also a lot of fun. I just really like the workflow with Anna. You like those plays that you have where you just feel like you're doing everything. You hit like you nano boost Winston, he dives somebody. You like hit somebody with an anti-nade. You heal this one person 180, hit a like Alton 76 with a sleep dart, and then your idiot teammate wakes the 76 up and the 76 kills them. It actually made me laugh because I was like, at least 76 didn't kill me. Yeah, like this, like we're on Horizon and I'm doing, the play, I'm healing, I'm nano boosting, I'm anti-healing, then I see 76 on the top right, jumping down, about to pop his ult, I just turn around and hit him with a sleep dart, and this is the part that gets me, right? Okay, so if you hit if I hit a sleep dart and someone wakes him up immediately, I'm like, whatever.
Right.
You know, they couldn't have known that I was going to hit the sleep dart, right?
Yeah.
But I hit the sleep dart. The 76 lands on the point. This diva stands right next to Baby Diva, by the way.
Yeah.
Stands right next to 76 for a few seconds. You can see him processing, right? And then he decides to shoot 76. 76 gets up and kills him. And I'm like, serves you right. Serves you right, dumbass. But yeah, so I recorded a bunch of games with Anna and Moira, where I felt like I was playing really well, so I'm going to start posting those on the channel.
Right.
Yeah, but that's pretty much what I played this week. I'll be honest, I've just been really fiending for Dragon Ball Fighters. And it's just made it very difficult for me to play anything else. But, we've still got 2 months. 2 months to wait. So
we got a while.
So, yeah.
It's getting good.
It's gonna be a while.
It's getting good.
But yeah, one game that might help tide us over is Fighting EX Layer, one of the worst fighting game names I've ever heard. Shout out to Japan, man. They keep topping themselves with these horrible names.
At least I remember this. Like I honestly, Blaze Blue, Cross Battle, Tag, whatever is still. Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, this game has had quite an interesting development. It was announced on April 1st, and everybody with half a brain was like, "This is obviously a troll." Right. And it's like, actually, it's not. So, they moved along in developments, and now they have a beta coming on the 11th of December.
Right.
The game is also going to be playable at the PlayStation Experience, which is in 2 weeks, I think. Yeah, it's in 2 weeks. So it's going to be playable at the PlayStation Experience, and and then the beta starts on the 11th of December. They also the creator also had like a blog post where he was talking about a new system that's being added to the game called the Gougi
system.
Gougi system. So I'm not 100% sure on how it works, but I'm thinking it's similar to the gem system from Cross Tekken, except hopefully not trash.
Yeah.
So you pick these cards.
Yeah.
And each card gives you a different
Gogi
benefit. Yeah, Gogi. So the screenshot we have, this dude has 5 cards. One is called Meter Up. Mm-hmm. He's got 3 Meter Up cards, 1 Guard Cancel card, and 1 Rage card. So I'm guessing this lets you, because what he's saying is that it lets you customize your playstyle, and it lets you customize, you can adapt on the fly. We'll get more info about this at PlayStation Experience, but this sounds pretty interesting, actually. Yeah. I'm looking forward to seeing more of this game. I hope that the next footage we see, because when the game was announced, it looked cool, but it looked cool for an independent game.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that as development goes on, they polish the game up a little bit, and it starts to look more like a AAA game with a little more polish and stuff. But hey, I've been asking for a 3D fighter, and what are they called? Namco is not going to give us the new Soul Calibur anytime soon. So hey, maybe I'll give this a try.
Honestly, it's got a pretty good cast. You know what I want? If they're gonna advertise this game, they need to push Skullomania. Because I literally knew nothing about Fighting EX Layer, but I knew about Skullomania. He's so freaking awesome, man.
Why do people like this guy so much?
I think it's just because he's so earnest. He's just a businessman who put on a skeleton suit. It's beauty in the simplicity. That's all it is.
There's one of my friends who just loves Skullomania. Every single rumor that involves Skullomania, he just shares it with me without even fact checking it or anything. Yeah, there was ones that there was a Photoshop of Skullomania and Street Fighter 4. And then he's like, "Hey, Fawaz, check this out." And I'm like, "Nope, still not happening.
No,
still not happening." But yeah, Skullomania is really popular. I'm on the article, and I'm pretty sure. Let me see. Yep, first comment, Skullomania. People love this guy so much.
He's just he's innocent. He's just so I don't know. It's hard to describe why I like him, even though I know so little about him. But there's just something pure. There's just something pure about his design and his character that I really enjoy.
Okay, well, so we go from one. No, that's the way isn't going to work.
No,
So
keep going. Just keep going.
just keep going. Okay, so to go from from Skullomania the pure to a game that just got a little less pure.
Oh.
Because of loot boxes.
Oh. Yeah. Okay. You
made
it work.
Yeah, that was such a reach, but whatever. We're running with it. So Rainbow Six Siege just detailed year 3, I think, of their DLC, and we're getting. Well, you're getting 3 new operatives. So it's called the White Noise. The White Noise
expansion.
Thank you. We're getting a new map. A pretty cool looking map. A pretty cool looking map. It's like Las Vegas, I think, and you can like rappel down the like side of the building, and it's pretty cool.
I think it's a tower. I think from what I can see, it's a tower. And honestly, like that kind of makes me happy because like I would like to see more maps in which grappling is a legitimate strategy. Because like one of the problems in Rainbow Six Siege is that when you start playing seriously, you very rarely grapple. Like, you know, because you it makes you such an easy target. You are completely. It's like one of the things people tell you not to do in certain games, like don't vault over cover, because there's going to be a couple seconds in which you have no way of stopping or dodging the bullets. So it's kind of like that. So I'm glad that they're building a level to use that mechanic.
And then we're getting, but I mean the real highlights are the 3 new operatives. So Dokebi, Vigil, and Zofia. So Dokebi is a South Korean hacker who can like mess up people's phones and the surveillance cameras. Then Vigil has a cloak that makes him invisible to camera feeds. And then Zofia is she's got a grenade launcher and she can pick herself up from being downed once per match. So I'm just gonna take a step back and let Tana break these heroes down because this is his area.
This is my area. Okay, well, first off, the hacker girl seems really strong because this game more than anything, cameras are key. Cameras are very, very key because it's the only way to like kind of like coordinate with your team. And like especially there's certain maps in which you really need good coordination because the defenders, they have an advantage. Like the defenders, they might spawn in a particular room that they can really set up a good defensive, and you need to be able to coordinate and make sure that you can get them off guard. And the way to prevent that is to destroy cameras. Like one of the first things you do when you're on the attacking side, you shoot all the outside cameras. Like you shoot all the outside cameras, and then you make your way inside, and you shoot all the inside cameras. You just start to memorize where cameras are, so that you can destroy them immediately. So that because what happens is that when you die, if you're on the defending team and you die, while you're waiting for the next round, you can use cameras. So it's basically, I killed someone, I can literally still help my team in death. So that's why I think she's going to be very powerful. Because she's kind of like the anti-Valkyrie, where Valkyrie is a character that she throws sticky cams, and she gets like 3. So I think how it works is that when you're on defense, you get 7 cameras, and she increases it to 10. So this is very counter to that. The other character who can go invisible on camera feeds, I think, is going to be incredibly strong, because that seems insane to me. But then again, like, even though you might be invisible to the cameras, that doesn't necessarily mean that means it's not like you're actively invisible. It just means that if somebody's trying to catch, like, kind of like scan for people on the cameras, you have an advantage of sneaking past unavoided.
Okay, but if they like see, you can't turn invisible to like the naked eye.
No, that's a clear distinction. This is only to camera feeds. This is cloaking you from camera feeds. It's not cloaking. It's not like a invisibility cloak in like Halo or something like that. So it's only for the cameras. So once again, like if you're playing against someone like Valkyrie and you know the opposing team has a lot of camera control, this is a good way to be just like, screw it, I'm gonna take this guy out and I'm just gonna like walk past all these cameras that they're trying to use. So I'm very excited to see him. The last one is kind of interesting. She reminds me a bit of Ashe, in which she's got a grenade launcher that can be used defensively. This one seems less. Ashe is more about shooting a grenade that blows up walls really effectively, whereas I think she's more of a middle ground where like the grenade launcher can be used to blow up walls, but it can also be used to just do damage and destroy electronics. So I think that's going to make her strong. I think the ability that she can pick herself up is also really, really strong. I think there's only two. Yeah, because there's only two operators that can do that: Doc and her. There's no other operator that can pick themselves up, as far as I know. So I mean, like, that's why I think she's going to be strong in that regard. But I find her kit a little less interesting compared to the other two. But overall, I think these are like three really interesting character designs. Overall, I think they fit the game quite well. But I mean, unless you have anything else to add, I just think these characters are really...
I just think they look cool. I think what's her name? Valkyrie. Yeah. Valkyrie, right? Is still probably my favorite character from an appearance point of view.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess we can go from one Valkyrie.
Oh, I knew you did. Well done.
So Valkyria Chronicles 4 finally got announced. So Sega were teasing this the entire week, and I did not follow the teasers at all, because I was like, I'm going to follow these teasers, I'm going to get excited, and then it's going to be like Valkyria Chronicles for the cell phone, or like the iPhone, or something like that.
Something ridiculous.
So I was like, nope, not even going to touch this. But no, it turns out that my lack of faith was rewarded, and this is actually a brand new Valkyria Chronicles. It's not like Valkyria Revolution. That was a bit of a spin-off. This is returning back to the tactical RPG roots of the original Valkyria Chronicles, and the like World War I-ish setting of the first Valkyria Chronicles, because the second and the third one moved away from that a little bit. So yeah, like this game sounds cool. It's been in development for 3 years, I think. So it's right now it has a 2018. March 2018 release date in Japan, and probably like a summer 2018 release date in North America. It's coming to all major consoles. So yes, including the Switch.
Yes.
And it's been in development for 2 years. I just want to clear that up. And finally, it's going to have DLC featuring characters from the original game. The DLC is going to be called Joint Battle with Squad 7. It'll let you take control of Idlewise, Alicia, Largo, Rosie, and Isara, and finishing it will unlock the characters for the main game. So
that's pretty cool. I wonder if that's DLC. I wonder where timeline wise there, because like where the game falls into, because I know that it's a little weird in the sense where I think the sequel is like a prequel, like
Valkyria 2 and 3.
Like Valkyria 2 and 3 I think are prequels, whereas like Valkyria 1 is like the end of the conflict, I think. So it's bizarre because I don't know, I haven't actually beaten the game yet, because like I got like 70% of the way through it, and then like a million other games came out, so I was like, fuck. But like it's one of those things where it's like I was enjoying the story, and I actually really like the aesthetic, and it's and the aesthetic looks really, really good. And this is something that it's very important to point out, is that they've returned to that particular watercolored look, which is something that I felt Valkyria Revolution really, really, really dropped the ball on, because it was like trying to be a spin-off, and it changed the art, it changed the look of the game. It was very Japanese.
Yeah, just a quick question. This Valkyria Revolution that you keep talking about, what is that? I don't believe I've ever heard of this game.
Exactly, because it bombed super hard when it came out.
But oh yeah, I don't know if I've ever mentioned. Yeah, the game looks amazing. I don't know if I've ever mentioned this before, but I really like cell shading. So so just looking at the cell shaded graphics of this game, it looks very good, and it also ages really well. You look at the original Valkyria Chronicles, and it looks fine. So yeah, we also got some information. Oh, I missed this. I just we got some more information from Famitsu. So shout outs to Famitsu.
Yeah.
So the main characters involved with the story, I'm not gonna go. They have like a little paragraph of each hero. I'm just going to name them. So Claude Wallace, so that's like the main protagonist. Riley Miller, Raz, and then Kai Shulin. So I look forward to hearing arguments about who is the best waifu between Riley Miller and Kai Shulin, because that's what's actually important, people. And then on top of that, we're also getting a new class, the Grenadier class. So they fight using a surprise grenade launcher, coming with long range and high trajectory. Projectiles are sent high into the sky from a remote location by passing rocks, sandbags, and buildings that would block other firearms.
Yeah.
It can hit targets beyond visual range, so if an ally relays the position of an enemy, it can be attacked even if the Grenadier himself has no line of sight. Yeah. They're basically long-range specialists. That being said, while Grenadiers have extreme long-range power, they cannot attack enemies that are close by, so they are the weakest close combat fighters. As usual, it'll be important to use each class against its most advantageous targets, because each soldier is strong against certain types of enemies, and weak against others. So, yeah.
I mean, like, that makes sense, because, like, I think what they've done is that the equivalent to that kind of ability to be able to shoot grenades in an arcing motion was kind of, like, exclusive to the tank. So that was like that was one of the benefits of having like using your tank commander for that turn. But the tank has massively slow movement speed, so you had to basically take your time with your movement with the tank. So this seems like a more, honestly, what this seems like, it seems like an assaulty version of that. Because the assault class, which is like fast mover, really shitty accuracy gun, but deals tons of damage. Oh man, I could talk about all the different classes in that game, because it's very XCOM. Like, I remember talking about it I remember talking about it a long time ago on the podcast, but it was literally like playing like a weird pseudo XCOM with, like, you know, anime aesthetics and watercolors and stuff like that. So also gotta point out, they showed off a cover, I guess, like a little picture of like the team, like, you know, the tank in front of the tank. And there's a fucking Chibe dog with a little ammo pack and a hat, and that is awesome. That is awesome. That is great. I hope that he is playable. I really hope he's playable, or I hope he's an assist. Like, you know, you shoot like a flare, and the dog comes in and gives everyone ammo, and then he leaves the battlefield. That's all I want. That's all I want.
Okay, in terms of things that actually matter, so they also stated
it does. That matters to me, Fawaz. Don't take this from me.
You know what? You're right. I take that back. It matters to Tanner, so it matters. Yeah. So yeah, they also announced that the game is 90% complete. So the March release date for Japan is looking very
doable,
and I imagine it won't be very long till this comes stateside. So yeah, for all you fans, your prayers have finally been answered. Sega finally, you know, pulled their heads out of their asses and gave people what they've been begging for since 2008. So shout outs to them for that. Now, you know, if this next developer could pull their heads out of their asses, I feel like that would be a very welcome change. And that's Capcom. So Capcom announced the DLC for Marvel vs. Capcom. Sorry, I forgot the name of the game. They announced DLC for Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite. They revealed it. Sorry. So Venom, Black Widow, and Winter Soldier. There we go. And they're coming on the 5th of November. In terms of the characters themselves, they released a little trailer showing them off. Winter Soldier actually looks pretty cool, but then he also looks like what Chris should have been.
Right.
So I'm just sitting there thinking, why did we get Chris?
Yeah.
What purpose does Chris even serve in this game anymore? Because, like, on paper anyway, Winter Soldier just looks like much better version of Chris. He's got like the grenades, but he can throw them while he's airborne.
Yeah.
He has the airborne shots. He doesn't have to reload. That's just a stupid mechanic that they gave Chris. He also has an ability where he can use his arm to like block bullets. He was shown walking through Nova's gravimetric blaster. I'm not sure how this move works, but at the very least, we know that he has, at least to some extent, the ability to walk through beams.
Right.
He just looks pretty cool. One of his level 1s is awesome. He charges up and punches you with his bionic arm, but like the camera angles and stuff.
He drags it on the ground, and there's sparks off the concrete. It's just I love that.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. His other the supers look pretty lazy. He's got one where he just shoots you with a bunch of guns, similar to another hero on the roster. Chris. Yeah, Chris has one like that too. And then his level 3 is just like every other level 3 in the game. Hit. And then charged up punch. Yeah, because whatever. There's no point beating this dead horse. Yeah. Moving on. Black Widow looks very, very boring. I really, really wish they'd picked somebody else. Yeah. You know what? It's like, okay, you guys really, really want to suck off the MCU, then give us, give us Scarlet Witch. Give us Hela or whatever her name is from the new Thor movie. I mean, it's not like. There's interesting characters in the MCU that you guys could have used.
It's funny you say that because they took when I was watching the trailer, it's like they took the one kind of cool thing about one cool move that I think she does in the movies, which is where she flips around using her legs in like this weird spiral motion. Yeah. And it's like that's the only cool thing I think she really does in the movies. And then she shocks them, and that's like, okay, that's the one cool thing that she had, so I'm glad that it's in her character. But at the same time, when I'm watching it, I'm just like, she's just not that interesting as a fighting game character. Like, especially when you watch her after Winter Soldier, because they all kind of fall into the like military man character. And if you and it's like we have Chris, then we have Winter Soldier, and then we have like I don't know. Like she I agree with you in the sense where she seemed very boring in comparison.
Also, hey, remember when Black Widow was Russian?
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. It looks like they've retconned that. She's just American now. So yeah.
Yeah, you think about it, that's I think in the movie she's just like one Russian line and that's it. And then it's just I guess Scarlet was just like, "Oh, Russian's hard. Can I just speak English?" Okay. All right.
At the end of the day, I'm very grateful that I didn't have to listen to Scarlett Johansson trying to do a fake Russian accent. Okay.
That would have made those movies so much better.
So I'm grateful for that. But yeah, it's like Natalia Alianova, Natasha Romanova, that's who you wanted to cast? Anyway, let me not go too far off track here. The last character actually looks amazing. I specify on the word looks because I'll get to that. I'll get to that in a second. Mm-hmm. So Venom actually looks really cool. He's got like an 8-way air dash with his spider webs. His supers are all pretty cool. He like transforms and he just looks awesome.
His moves, when I was watching the trailer, his moves seem really intense.
His moves seem really, really intense, and he's just like, he's just all over the place. Now, the reason why I specified on the word looks is because he sounds awful, in my opinion.
Oh, yeah?
He doesn't, like, his voice is really, really high-pitched.
Right.
But more importantly, he doesn't have the multiple voice. You know how in the cartoon, whenever he speaks, because the symbiote is two people, right?
Yeah.
The symbiote and it's Eddie Brock, and he refers to himself in the plural, right? We. Even in the game, he refers to himself in the plural.
Yeah, in the plural. Yeah.
But like when he talks, you only hear one voice, whereas in the cartoons, you would always hear two. it would be one voice layered on top of another one, and then on top of that, his current voice is really really squeaky and high pitched. So yeah, that was the first thing I noticed.
I mean like it. I when I was watching it, I was like, not the greatest, but at least we don't have that '70s show blasting.
Oh my god!
Because that was the worst. That was the worst it could have possibly been. That literally is the worst casting I've seen in a long time.
Man, Topher Grace as Venom. That has to be one of the worst castings I've seen in a long time. Yes, I most certainly. I think we can both agree on this. But yeah, other than that, he looks pretty cool. They also revealed the alternate skins for the characters. Bucky. Okay, so I'm going to describe this to you guys, but while I'm describing it, I'm going to send Tana an image of this because I don't think he's seen these yet, right?
Oh god.
And
there we go.
I think you need to see this. Unfortunately, I can't.
So this is just my live reaction to this. So you just send it.
There we go. There it is. Oh wait, no. There it is. Okay, so just give me 1 second, people. First of all, I'm going to send this to Tana, and then I'm going to describe this to you people. But this has to be one of the absolutely laziest alternate skins I've ever seen in a video game. He's actually
let's imagine the board meeting of this. It's like, all right, so we're looking for alternate skins for Winter Soldier. What we can do? Well, we can maybe change his metal arm to a different color, or we give him a different hairstyle, maybe give him a hat, or we can give him the cool mask, that he had from the movies, right? It's like, oh yeah, those are great ideas. Or we could give him some cargo pants and a belt. And just a plain shirt. A plain white shirt. And then everyone went, yeah. Because, Jesus Christ.
It's awful. It's actually... Now, here's the thing, right? If this was, Wolverine, because, in the comics, and I see Black Widow's one as well. Now, let's get the good out of the way first. So, Venom gets the anti-Venom alternate skin, and it looks amazing. It looks absolutely amazing. On one of his alternate colors is red and black, like Carnage. So, hats off to them. But Black Widow and Winter Soldier, they actually look like these skins were made at deadline. Seriously.
Sure, yeah. To be fair, I think Black Widow's looks way better than Winter Soldier's.
But then look at her regular skin.
I know it's not that big of a difference. I am very much aware, but it looks cooler than cargo pants.
It does look cooler than cargo pants. Here's the thing: if this was a situation where this was what's his name, Wolverine, right?
Mm-hmm.
So in the comics, Wolverine has worn the tank top with the jeans and all that stuff. And if this is a reference to but this is just lazy, guys. Come on.
And honestly, if you're gonna give him an alternate costume, give him the mask. I think that's one of the coolest things about Winter Soldier is that mask that he wears in the movies.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's
there's so many. I mean, they could have gone with the original Bucky look.
Yeah, they could have made him what would have been cool if they just given. Well, I guess it wouldn't have made the last sense. They could have given him the World War, because that I can understand in the sense where they went, well, why don't we just make him look like his World War II equivalent, which is you see in the first Captain America movie. And they went, well, he did have his arm ripped off, so we can't exactly do that. So
then give him a Nathan Rad Spencer alternate skin. And while we're on the topic, why is Spencer even in this game?
Yeah.
Why are Spencer and Chris in this game?
They're baffling, especially after seeing this. When you see these two characters, you're you literally could have just took Spencer and Chris out of the game and put these two in. And dare I say it, they could have served the same function, and they would have been a different character choice. Off the beaten path, but
Although the Bucky Barnes Captain America out, there's so many things they could have gone with, but no. Tank top and jeans. So anyway, so yeah, these characters look I mean, they look cool, so I'll give them credit for that. But yeah, the alternate skins look like shit. They're coming on the 5th of November. As is a patch that's coming to like fix a bunch of things like Dante, the Reality Stone, a couple of other things are getting changed in the patch. However, the patch is hitting before Capcom Cup.
Yeah.
Capcom Cup is going to be played on the regular patch, which I think is fair. I think it's fair. They played the entire tournament thing on this one patch with the Dante and stuff. If they were going to play the tournament on this patch, it should have come out like a month before.
Yeah, because it's not fair. It's not fair to the players into the tournament where it's like, oh god, now I gotta relearn all the numbers. Cause like
yeah. And like Dante, like they had like a solid page of changes to Dante. So there's a lot of Dante players, and a lot of them would have been out to lunch, which some people are fine with. But I still think that wouldn't have been fair. So yeah. But yeah, exciting stuff. December 5th. Look forward to getting MVCI.
When is Battle of the Stones? Because I need to take that day off.
Oh my god. This dude is actually serious about this Battle of the Stones nonsense.
Okay,
sure
the Reality Stone, man. I'm gonna change your buttons.
Have we spoken about this rubbish on the podcast?
Yes, we have, and I'm so happy.
Okay, so just to recap, people. So the 6 stones. Space Stone.
Mm-hmm.
The Space Stone allows the Stone Bearer to swap their position in the bracket and face a different opponent.
Pretty good.
The position must be in an equal place in the tournament.
Yep.
So if you show up on that day and you're like, oh my god, I'm on Justin Wong's half of the bracket. Oh, wait a second.
No, I'm not.
I have the Space Stone.
Oh, man.
The Soul Stone allows the bearer to erase one of their losses in a 3 out of 5 sets.
You didn't win. It's literally, you didn't win. You didn't win.
Okay, the Time Stone. The Time Stone allows the Stone Bearer to seize the flow of time, enabling them to negate the use of an opponent's Stone Bearer power anytime during this tournament for 1 match.
It's basically a counter stone, essentially.
Okay, so it's a counter stone. Wow, Kazunoko got screwed, man. This stone is trash. Okay, the Power Stone. The Power Stone allows for the Stone Bearer to land the first hit in a match, giving them a gap. Oh my god.
Yeah.
So the match starts, and I'm like, okay, I activate Power Stone. You just need to stand there, and I'm going to hit my combo. And then look at who got the Power Stone, Cloud 805.
Yeah.
Now, if you don't know Cloud 805, go look this guy up. This guy has some of the craziest combos in Marvel 3, and he carried that shit over to Marvel Infinite. So giving this guy the Power Stone, oh my god. But then the last 2 stones, they saved the best for last.
Yeah.
The Mind Stone allows the Stone Bearer to control their opponent's mind by choosing both of their characters and Infinity Stone. And then the Reality Stone grants the Stone Bearer the ability to alter reality by swapping 3 button functions in their opponent's control configuration.
It's so stupid. And I will not fight you on that. This is very stupid. This is very, very stupid. But it's the most entertaining, tournament scheme I've seen in a long time. It's the most creative tournament scheme I've seen in a long time. And it's probably the most excited I've ever been for a tournament in a really, really long time. So I can't exactly be mad at this. Because I want to see... you know what I want to see? I want to see that Cloud guy pull out the Power Stone, and then the other guys go, well, guess what? I pull out the fucking... shit. What's the one that switches... The one that switches characters.
The Mind Stone.
The Mind Stone. Pull out the Mind Stone. It's like, all right, go make that full combo with Ryu and Frank.
West. Yeah. Oh, and in terms of dates, so the Battle of the Stones is December 8th to the 10th, 2017. So that weekend is going to be crazy. So check this out. Battle of the Stones is December 8th to December 10th.
Yeah.
The VGAs are on the 7th. PlayStation Experience is on the 9th.
Yep.
Is on the 8th. And then the Monster Hunter Beta is on the 9th.
Yeah, well...
And then the Fighting EX Layer, or whatever that stupid game's name, Beta is on the 11th. So that is going to be the craziest 5 days for the podcast. I don't even know how we're going to deal with
Well, I mean,
that,
my time is going to be committed to Monster Hunter. I can tell you that much.
Really? Not Battle of the Stones?
It's gonna be it's gonna be, you know what I'll do? I'm gonna be playing Monster Hunter, and then whenever I want to just, go mining and just do like a gathering quest, I'll just watch Battle of the Stones. So there you go. I'll get the best of both worlds. Best of both worlds.
Just a quick aside before we get on that last point, because this last point, about the Monster Hunter thing, and this is so like I shouldn't even be saying this right now, but about Monster Hunter thing, did you know that you can like do like gathering quests while you're doing like a main quest now?
Yeah, I heard about that. That's another huge time saver. It's massive. It's massive. It's funny for us because I know you don't know. I know that you aren't aware of how Monster Hunter works because like this is like probably the most info you've ever gotten about the series in general.
Yes.
And everything you're hearing is such a quality of life change. It's amazing.
Yeah, that's what I've heard. That a lot of things they've done in this game is just quality of life stuff because the old games weren't.
You know what it is for us? It's the Pokemon problem.
They've made a really good game in like 1997, and then they have just been like updating it like gradually.
Yeah.
Without actually, so this is like the first big update.
This is like the first real big like we're gonna change things around. We're gonna make things easier. We're gonna flip some of the systems. Like it's amazing. But you want to talk about something a little less amazing?
yeah. So the loot box saga. No, this is actually pretty amazing if you ask me.
Okay.
The loot box saga continues with EA. So what happened was that this stuff has picked up traction. That one Reddit post has picked up a lot of traction, and now Belgium is moving to ban loot boxes in video games, like period, because they're doing research to see if they can qualify loot boxes as gambling, and if they after their research they decide that it's gambling, then like they're going to move to ban it, or at the very least, any game that has loot boxes in it has to like have a higher rating on ESRB, and it has to like explicitly state, sex, nudity, gambling.
Yeah, literally. Or they honestly, you know what I could see happening down the road with this is that when you boot up a game and you go to play it online, it has a big like message that you have to accept. That it's like you accept the fact that this system is in place and that this is indeed gambling and that you are participating in this or something like that. Like I feel like that might actually be a thing that might be coming in the future.
But it gets even better. So, Congressman in Hawaii, Chris Lee, he had a big press conference talking about how he's going to crack down on loot boxes. He described them as predatory practices, and he even used a little "it's a trap" joke. So that was pretty funny. But all in all, this is good. This is good stuff. It's looking like consumers are finally fighting back. It's really hilarious because normally when people are talking about censorship in video games in the media, I'm usually like, screw you prunes and leave our video games alone. But this time I'm like, no, you take away our loot boxes. I don't care. Seriously, like this shit needs to stop. This is some bullshit.
It's interesting because I don't think we've ever really had a big discussion about because if anyone's, I think I can safely agree. I can safely say that 2017 was the year of the loot boxes. I think more games this year came out with loot boxes or this type of like monetized system than I can think of any other year. And it got ridiculous because it wasn't even multiplayer games that were getting it. We were talking about how fucking ridiculous Shadow of Mordor got with its microtransactions and how the game is built to suit the microtransactions and how and I think the reason why this is becoming a bigger deal as far as like because this is gambling to a certain extent. And the thing is that, gambling has an age restriction. And the thing about this is that loot boxes don't have an age restriction, which is really bad. Because if you think about it, this could in a lot of ways, it could be promoting this kind of behavior of just, spending your money away on rolling, RNG. And that's not really something that I don't think any company should be supporting, regardless of how much money it makes. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, no, I feel you. It's funny though. As much as I love Overwatch, Overwatch is to blame for all of this.
Absolutely. Like, as I love Overwatch, and it's a great game, but the loot box system from Overwatch has caused so many problems in the game industry as a whole. You could like, I could say that as much as I love Overwatch, it did deal some damage. It did deal some damage to the industry as far as like this practice being not only popularized, but because it was popularized by a company that everyone's like, it's fine, don't worry about it. A lot of other companies go, well, if gamers don't care, then hell yeah, let's get some loot boxes in our games. And it's unfortunate. It's an unfortunate series of events because I think when we bought Overwatch, like when it launched, I don't think either of us could have predicted that this was going to happen.
No, and just for the record, I think the way Overwatch handled loot boxes is the quote unquote correct way. Because first of all, it's 100% cosmetic, and second of all, you don't need to grind. You never feel the need to grind. Now, unless you're one of those guys who wants absolutely everything for absolutely every single character, then I bid you good luck, and you're going to have to bust out that wallet. But I've been playing the game, and I play the game on and off. I have a legendary skin for every single hero. I've only bought loot boxes once, and I bought them not because I felt like I needed to, but because I wanted to, show Blizzard some support. And this is the other point that I want to get at with loot boxes. One of the reasons why I defended loot boxes in Overwatch was because Blizzard came out and said, and once again, they said, we don't know if they'll stay to their word, but, whatever. Yeah, they came out and they said their intention was to support this game for a very long time.
Right.
Which they've done so far, and I see no reason for them to stop.
Yeah.
So, supporting the game costs money, and then but because all the DLC, this is another point that a lot of these developers ignore, because all the DLC was going to be free, that support had to come from somewhere. So loot boxes generates like a consistent way that they can like keep the money flowing in to support support the man hours that are being put into making like the characters, the maps, the modes, and all that stuff. So yeah, like for me, this is a very, very different situation. Like Star Wars Battlefront, I'm not even psychic, but I can guarantee you in 2019 we're going to be looking at Star Wars Battlefront 3. Like you have FIFA, an annualized game, putting loot boxes in there. And I'm like, does your greed know no bounds?
Well, I mean, the most ridiculous, I think, is the Forza. Forza's the worst, in my opinion, because Forza's like, you unlock loot boxes that unlock challenges that you compete to unlock things. So it's essentially you are buying. It's not buy to win. It's buy to earn. And that was like, when I read that statement, I went, dear merciful God, where have we gone to as far as how ridiculous this is going to get? And it's important. I think it's important that the thing that I don't like about loot boxes, yes, it does promote gambling. And this is really bad, especially for games that are easily accessible to, very impressionable minds. And it's not something that's good, and I think that's why I think like this congressman in Hawaii and other countries are taking an actual look at this because of how it's affecting the market. Usually, how I get really upset about loot boxes is when, like, Shadow of the War is the prime example. It's the one I'm gonna always go to. The game is flat out designed to lead to the store. The game is built to, like, kind of like all these pathways that you travel down all eventually lead back to the store, and that's bothers me. It bothers me because it's essentially you are building the game not for the players, but you're building it to make money, and that's a practice that we need to stop. And the fact that we have games like Forza that have these freaking buy to earn loot boxes, I think it's important that I think it's important that this topic is discussed, and I have to admit, like, as much as I think Battlefront 2 is a really fucking like terrible game at this point, it at very least got the conversation started. I think the whole fucking kerfuffle with Battlefront 2 that exploded so much over Reddit has actually gotten people legitimately talking about this, not even just from a gamer perspective, from an official perspective. So it's very, very interesting to see how this is turning around.
Yeah, shoutouts to Star Wars Battlefront. Shoutouts to EA. You might not be the hero that we need, but you are certainly the hero. You might not be the hero that we deserve, but you are certainly the hero we needed right now. You know what's really funny about this whole situation is that and this is still a big if, because the battle is still going on. Gamers, we've had a couple of minor victories, but yeah, the battle itself is still waging on. But yeah, if at the end of all of this, loot boxes go the way of let's go with the dinosaur.
Season pass.
EA will be to blame.
Yeah.
EA will be to blame. And what's really funny is that, like, you have all these other publishers sitting there looking at EA, like, you just had to do it, guys. You just had to push them too far. We were just minding our own business, enjoying ourselves, making all this money from these delicious microtransactions, and then you had to come out and find a way to push people too far, and then they pushed back, and now we can't have our microtransactions anymore. So it'd be really, really hilarious if EA is the reason why microtransactions.
It would be, honestly, I would be really funny if EA's Star Wars Battlefront 2 is the case point in a lot of, like, we shouldn't have loot boxes in games. I would love that. I would love that. I would want to see that. I want to see, like, a bunch of government officials all standing around in a business meeting or, like, whatever in a building, and it's just just JPEG of Star Wars Battlefront 2 is on a projector, and they just, like, case in point.
Star Wars Battlefront.
Oh God.
But yeah. So we'll keep you guys posted on this development. But so far so good. Like, the conversation is continuing, which is what we want. We don't want a situation where we stop talking about this, and then this time next year we're right back here.
Yeah.
The conversation is continuing. Star Wars Battlefront debuted to 60% fewer sales than Star Wars Battlefront 1. Now, just to clarify. The market in the UK. This was in the UK. Second of all, this doesn't include digital sales. And third, and most importantly, Star Wars Battlefront 1 launched on a Tuesday. Battlefront 2 launched on a Friday. So take these numbers with a grain of salt. But whatever. We'll take what we can get.
At this point.
And we'll keep you posted in the battle against the dreaded loot boxes. But this has been a good week. I'm feeling good.
It's a good week. It's a good week for everyone, I guess.
So yeah, to wrap up, did you want to just tell them about our question of the day?
We got a wonderful question of the day from the wonderful J Streets.
Shout out to J Streets.
And he's asking us, very simply, how important is presentation in video games? So, do you want me to take first swing, or do you want to take first swing?
You take first swing.
Okay, well, honestly, yeah, because I think presentation covers a lot. Presentation in video game covers a lot, and a lot of people are like, it's just graphics, right? And it's like, no, it's not. It's not just graphics. It's a combination of visual, audio, and just general, like, visual design. And that could be as simple like as like the menus, just not just the graphics, the audio, the voice acting. These are all integral parts to video games in general. And I think it's obviously very, very important. Now, some people can argue, well, does your game have to be, does it have to have like 4K graphics and 60 frames per second? Like, no, there are games that can use limiting art styles to their advantage. Like, obviously, we've seen the whole pixel art phenomenon like pick up and is still staying strong. Like, I mean, like, I've played a game, Dead Cells, which is a pixel art game, and the art in that game is incredibly strong, and the presentation in the game is incredibly strong, even though it is very pixely. And I honestly think that it's at the core, like, gameplay is always very, very important, but I could be playing like the most like amazing gameplay ever, but if the game like just it's not even that like I like from like the texture or the models aren't even that great. If there's the visual style or the art or the audio is just off-putting, then it's just gonna make it for a bad experience. I can't tell you how many games that there's games that I think take this for granted. I think good audio design it should be stressed in video games more often than not.
Yeah.
Because good audio design, like I think some of the best experiences in video games that I've had have been a combination of both visuals and audio. Like a good soundtrack, that's presentation as well. We talk about video game soundtracks a lot because there's some amazing ones that make a gameplay sequence so much more rewarding and fulfilling because of it.
Yep.
Here's a prime example. Shadow of the Colossus. That fight on the bird is awesome, but if there was no music, it wouldn't have had the same effect. But the fact that when you're getting closer to the point where you have to pull your sword out and stab it, and the music is crescendoing as the beast is flying at like this high paced speed, it makes for an incredible experience. And I think that it's funny because it makes me think of also how I gushed about the Persona 5 menus. Like, it's such a little thing. But I really enjoy when games have really well designed menus and good UI, because there's a lot of bad menu design that makes the games harder to play because you can't find anything, right?
Yep.
So I think overall, to wrap this up, I think presentation in video games is a very, very important part of it. It is very, very important. But that's not limited to graphics. And I think that's just the point that I wanted to stress. It's not limited to how good the models are, how quality the animation is. It's more than that, I think. But I guess that's my answer. What about you, Fawaz?
I'm just gonna piggyback off that, and I've always said on this podcast actually that I don't care about graphics, and I still think that's true. But yeah, I did realize that I do care very much about presentation because Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite taught me that there's just something to be said for when you look at a game and it just looks like the developer didn't care. You look at the Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite character select screen. The first batch of DLC, 6 characters, 2 of which are Capcom, 4 of which are Marvel. So now the character select screen is asymmetrical. You have one Marvel character leaning over into the Capcom side, and it just looks like shit.
Yeah.
The menus, everything looks like it was either developed by an intern or was developed on a deadline, and we're just talking about Bucky's costume. So.
And you know what? I just to piggyback off your point, that's Marvel. I know we talk about it and we've talked about it to death, but that's a good example of how the game has good gameplay. The game has fantastic gameplay, but the presentation sucks a lot of the fun that I could be having. Could you imagine if this game had more clean presentation, a little bit better audio design, a lot better menu design? No one would be complaining about. We'd be hyping it up.
Yeah, pretty much. But it is what it is. The game pretty much showed me that presentation is very important. I remember the first thing I said on this podcast when I was talking about Persona 5. I was like, wow, the menus in this game are insane. And it's just a thing where you look at it's not just the fact that it's pleasing to look at. It's also just the fact that there's something to be said for looking at a game and just feeling like the developer went over and beyond.
Yeah.
You feel the passion. They were something as simple as an opening menu. You're gonna be on that menu for a fraction of the time that you're going to spend playing the game, but the developer still at least appeared to put a lot of time into this menu, not just to make it easy to use, but also aesthetically pleasing. Really cool menu to look at and stuff. So yeah, you know, you look at, and you know, to go back to the point about it's not just about graphics. You look at one of the games that everybody was talking about after E3 the last night. The last night's a pixel art game. You know, straight up, it's pixel art. But like they use it in a way that people have never seen before. As far as graphical fidelity is concerned, this is not a crazy game. You know, this at least I don't think it is. It doesn't have like a crazy amount of polygons and all that stuff. I mean, it's got some insane particle effects, but
but that's a good example of how like you're taking a limited art style, but because you're approaching it in a very different and, you know, interesting and new way, it adds to the presentation and it makes it more pleasing to the eye and more eye-catching.
Exactly. Eye-catching. Exactly. So yes, I think presentation is very important. Obviously not as important as gameplay, but I do think it's very important. I feel like you know, it does two things. One is that presentation, it attracts you to the game. You know, you're watching like a highlight reel from E3 and you see like the last night and you just stop the video and you're like, what game is that? You know, you go, you look it up because the game just looks so cool. It catches your eye. You know, versus if you're watching a highlight reel from E3 and you see Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite and you're like, kill it.
Just fast forward 2 minutes. All right.
Yeah, exactly, right? So I feel like good presentation. It's, you know, same with sound design. You know, good presentation, good sound design. I mean, it can't make up for bad gameplay, but it's complements it complements good gameplay, and that's how you get those games, right? Because like, you know, people always, like, one thing a lot of people complained about is that a lot of modern games just feel like they're missing the passion, you know, that they feel like they were made to hit a quarterly goal versus to like create something memorable. And you look at almost every single game that people refer to as like very memorable, and almost all of them have, you know, solid presentations, solid soundtracks. You know, some of them don't even have like that great gameplay, if we're being completely honest with ourselves.
Like some games are remembered more for their presentation than gameplay. There are many games that fall into that. I'm always the advocate of I need 50-50. I need good gameplay and I need good presentation. And it needs to be equal. And that's usually, I usually don't like it when the scale tips in either or. I can generally, because I can appreciate a game that has really good presentation, but if the game is just boring or not fun to play, it deteriorates the experience. And the same goes for the reverse. I can have a game that has amazing gameplay, but if the presentation is really poor, the audio is kind of funky, and like the voice acting is terrible, then that can just rip me out of the experience as well. So I usually like going for a good balance, and that's why I think that's why presentation is important. I think presentation is very important.
I think presentation is very important.
I think we've said that about 50 million times. But very good question, Jay Streets. And if you got a question for us, don't forget to leave it in the comment section, and we'll make sure I answer it in the next podcast. As always, this is your host, Room of Liberty, and...
I'll
see you guys next time.